Here's the screen of GeoGebra, and in this video I'm going to show you how to graphically solve the problem that you've been looking at on the site so far. The first thing you need to do is to sort of think about our axes and how we're going to label them and what scale we're going to put them on and what works best for us. Right-clicking anywhere on the screen and you see the bottom box there is graphics, and that will bring up a settings box which shows the axes. Clicking on the basics tab, first of all, I like an arrow that's on the end of each of our axes there, and you can see on the end of the x-axis and the y-axis there's now an arrow. Also with the x-axis now, I'd like to show some numbers like that as well, and also we're not going to go in a negative direction, so I'll take away the negative side of the axis there, and I'll do the same for the y-axis. Now, thinking about how we're going to label them, for this problem I think it's best to put time on the x-axis, so you can just type time in there into the label box, and for the y-axis I'm going to put distance, like that. And then if we just close that, we've got a set of axes that we're happy with, that I'm happy with, and now we just need to click on the far right one there, the move tool, and we'll just move them down to the part of the screen where it works. Now, if you remember the problem, the two cyclists, X and Y, start they start exactly 40 kilometers apart, and so that's okay there. And as far as time goes, well, we happen to have 60, which in this case I'm more interested in minutes than hours, so when it comes to formulating the equations for this problem, we're going to have to make an adjustment, but at this time I like to see the number 60. Now, if you ever do want to vary the scale on either of the axes, it's quite easy. If you can just click and you'll see the hand come up like that, and if you just drag, you can get the numbers you want. But once again, we want to start about 40 kilometers apart, so it's nice to see the 40 there, and likewise the 60 on the x-axis, which is time in this problem. Now we have to start to put in some equations which are going to represent each of the riders. As you remember, the bike rider X, he starts at 0, he starts at a point 0, and he's riding, or he or she is riding at 30 kilometers an hour. So I'm just in the input bar down here at the bottom, I'm just going to write an equation to show that particular bike rider. And it would be, say, F, meaning function, and X, meaning it's the rider X. And because the variable is X, we'll just put X like that there. And it's 30 kilometers an hour, so it would be 30x. But as I mentioned earlier, I want to change the time to minutes. So just dividing by 60 here and x. And so it's in terms of x, and that's the cyclist, the first cyclist, the x cyclist. And if we hit like that, and that represents cyclist X. And similarly for y, I like to show function, and it would be cyclist Y. And again, I'm just putting it in the input bar here. And again, it's going to be in terms of x, because that's the x-axis, and that's how we're working in terms of time. And we just put equals. Now, the Y cyclist starts at a point 40 kilometers away. So at 0, when time is 0, that cyclist is at 40. So we're going to say 40, and then they're riding at the opposite speed, in the opposite direction, so it will be minus 20 kilometers an hour. And again, we want to make that into kilometers per minute, so we divide by 60. And it's also in terms of the x-axis, time, so we'll make that x again. And there we go. And that is a graph showing, that's a line, an equation showing the rider Y. So now we just want to find out the point, the intersection point, and using GeoGebra we can do here, just going up to the intersect of two objects and just clicking on the little triangle, intersect two objects on the drop-down menu. And if we just click on that point there, and we get the point A, which is 48, 24, the x-axis coming 48, so that shows you they meet after 48 minutes, and 24 is the distance, the y-axis, and they're 24 kilometers from where x started, from the 0, which is of course 16 kilometers from where y started. And so that is how to solve the problem graphically in GeoGebra. And in the next movie, I'm going to show you how to make it more of a dynamic problem. So we can add some sliders and we'll be able to vary the distance that the two riders start apart, and we'll also be able to vary their speeds, and I'll show that in the next video.